Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nashtuprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute, text number 20 onwards. So yesterday, like our last verse was Bahunam Janmana Mante Gyanman Mam Prapadyate Vasudevas Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So very rare soul surrenders unto me, Krishna says. Then now Krishna will talk about what about others. Text 20. Kamestastar hridyana prapadyante anya devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyatah svaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So those who have intelligence, those who have right knowledge, Krishna says, they surrender unto me. And those whose intelligence is stolen by material desires, because we all have material desires to speak of. When words Krishna also says, prior verses, he says, even if somebody has material desires, but he comes to me, he should be considered a Mahatma. But those whose intelligence or material desires are so strong, the intelligence gets taken over, then they surrender unto the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Well, funny, I mean, this is a time of Navaratras when everybody is busy worshipping Devi. So this verse has come up during Navaratras. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should, on all cases, surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. As stated in Bhagavatam, akama sarva kamava moksha kamudharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. But we have to understand our position. It's not like having material desires, or like Prabhupada is saying, material contamination is like a crime. We all have our own position. We all have our situation. We all have our position at the junction of spiritual advancement, where we are trying to make progress spiritually. All of a sudden, we cannot expect ourselves that either I'll compete with somebody who is far ahead of me spiritually, that I'll try to imitate him and try to say, oh, he's not doing it, so I will also not go and worship demigods, and because it's a bad thing. In a way, yes, it's an obstacle on the path of bhakti to make progress. But understanding our own position, understanding our situation, understanding our mentality, understanding our consciousness, if we work accordingly, if we try to take baby steps towards Krishna consciousness, towards bhakti, then we will be on the safer side. If we all of a sudden we try to give up everything and try to say, oh, only Krishna and nothing else, of course it's the best thing to do. There's nothing wrong. It's the best thing. But if we still have material desires creeping up and they don't get fulfilled, then there are chances we might get frustrated and leave bhakti altogether. So in a way, it's of course, as we discussed yesterday about surrender. Surrender is a very big word. Surrender is a very strong word. So it might take us many lifetimes to surrender completely. But if we take baby steps, if we surrender little more, little more, it makes the path more enjoyable, actually. Prabhupada's purports are amazing. Prabhupada's purports are from his viewpoint for what is required for a pure devotion, for pure devotional service. It's like no contamination, no problems in his purports. But we have to see how much we can digest. It's just like if a bodybuilder, if a big bodybuilder, like suppose Arnold Schwarzenegger, he says that one should lift like maybe 100 kilos every day, then that will make up the muscles, and which is true according to his position. It is completely true. But it might not be the right advice for me right now. If I try to start lifting 100 kgs, next day I won't even go to gym because I'll be all, muscles will be all messed up. So I might have to start with 1 kg of weight. And slowly, gradually, I can develop that muscles, and maybe I'll reach up to that stage, or maybe not. So Prabhupada's purports are completely pure, trying to give us the impetus to begin pure devotion service. And of course, while performing pure devotion service, we do get mercy of Acharyas, mercy of Vaishnavas, mercy of Krishna himself. No doubt about it. But if we are not really ready, and then we try to imitate somebody like Prabhupada, and we say, okay, from today onwards, no more material desires, because Prabhupada says it is material contamination and it's not good for me, it's not good for my spiritual life. If somebody can sustain that, it's great. But if you cannot, then I think it's better to take baby steps. It's more safe that way. So yes, Bhagavad Gita says, Kamastasta hrityana prapadyantyana devata. It's better to approach demigods than to leave bhakti altogether and not have faith in anything left, not have left any faith in any of the Vedic scriptures. So one has to see one's position, one has to see one's situation, family life, situation in the material life, and whatever one can perform in bhakti best, without getting disturbed, without getting distracted, it'll be very good to do. Prabhupada's purpose, if we follow them exactly, we can go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime, no doubt. But how many of us still from today till the end of life, we can follow Prabhupada's purpose exactly what he's saying? If someone can, please do so. If one cannot, Then understanding our position, situation, understanding our material issues, family problems, family issues, we take up the process accordingly and try to make advancement. Most important thing is try to make advancement as much as we can. And one should not, of course, Prabhupada is writing from pure devotion point of view, and then and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam also talks about worship of demigods. They put down because obviously worship of Krishna, bhakti of Krishna is the topmost thing, the topmost activity. But at the same time, we should not denounce, we should not make fun of or show disrespect to demigods or to the people who are worshipping demigods. That would be a very wrong thing to do. Demigods are all Vaishnavas. Of course, people who worship them, they're not considering the demigods as Vaishnavas. So they are going there for material benefits. But at least they are going there. At least they are trying to follow some Vedic procedure. And in many cases, you will see that they have more faith in demigods than we have faith in Krishna. Even if they're asking for material benefits, we also go many times, we also pray many times, why many times? Maybe most of the times, we pray to Krishna for material benefits. But the way they do, the way the faith they have in maybe Shivji, maybe Durgaji, maybe Ganeshji, Hanumanji, the faith they have, it's amazing. I wish we have that kind of faith in Krishna. Even after studying so many scriptures, even after chanting so many names, even after serving in the temple, serving Krishna, serving devotees, even after listening to so much of Kirtan, even after eating so much of prasadam, we haven't developed that kind of faith as much as faith people have for demigods, for respective demigods. So we should learn at least from that, and we should appreciate their faith. Of course, reading Prabhupada's purports, Prabhupada speaks very highly against demigod worship, but his aim is different. Let's see what Prabhupada writes. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. But this statement doesn't mean that everybody who is coming to Krishna consciousness or trying to chant or going to the temple regularly has come to to the level of mode of goodness. We might also be in the lower modes of ignorance and passion. So we cannot denounce these devotees, these people who are trying to worship demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided, because in Vedic literature, there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. For example, a deceased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Ekila Ishvara Krishna Arsab Bhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he or whatever Krishna gives. But this is the quality of a pure devotee, Prabhupada is talking. We are trying to be even considered as devotees. We are struggling hard to even come to the platform of being a devotee. So yes, we should be serving Krishna, chanting his name. We should be doing bhakti with more sincerity, more determination, more seriousness, more earnestness. But my personal recommendation or suggestion is to take baby steps and we should not try to imitate somebody else. Of course, at the same time, Prabhupada also says imitation of good thing is not bad. So if we try to imitate pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada and try to worship Krishna purely, with pure heart, it is going to definitely give good results, definitely. But in the process, if we get disturbed and leave bhakti, that will be worst thing to do. So that is something that we should avoid. So understanding bhakti is the topmost. Bhakti to Krishna is the topmost. Chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the topmost principle, topmost activity in the whole world. There's nothing beyond that. But at the same time, we understand our position and work accordingly. That's all. And Krishna does say in 3 text 21, yo yo yam yam tanu bhakta shraddha architum ichhati tasya tasya achalam shraddham tame vedadhami am. He says, I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So obviously, without the sanction of Krishna, without the sanction of Paramatma, nothing can happen. If somebody desires to worship some demigod, Paramatma is there and he fulfills that desire. And he makes his faith steady so that one can devote himself to that particular deity. Obviously, we should pray to Paramatma to make our faith steady in Krishna, make us never go away from service of Krishna. That we should pray to Paramatma for that. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As a Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. So since Krishna is supremely independent, the soul is also minutely independent. Because we are minute, so we are minutely independent. Krishna is absolute, Krishna is all in all, so he is supremely independent. So he does not want to interfere with our independence. If we have the desire, Krishna tries to fulfill that desire. He does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Yes, if we want real happiness, we should come to Krishna. We should take up the devotion service very seriously, fully surrendering unto Krishna. Because even after we worship demigods and we get the material benefits, material facilities, material assets to enjoy materially, it will not give us complete happiness. It will only give some satisfaction to the mind and some comfort to the material senses. That's all. By worshipping Krishna, serving Krishna, that is something that pleases the soul. Yasya atma prasidati, suprasidati. So by worshipping Krishna, it pleases the soul. It gives full happiness, full content, full satisfaction to the soul. Because then the soul is situated in its constitutional position, is a real position, on the original position of being servant of Krishna. So obviously that's the only thing that will give happiness to the soul. But many times we mistake it that that if I give comfort to the body, satisfaction to the mind, that will give happiness to the soul. Or we, by doing bhakti, many times we don't even feel I'm giving happiness to the soul, or my soul is being happy, or I'm finding happiness. That only means there's nothing wrong in bhakti. Actually, only thing that is wrong is our adoption of the process. Our implementation is not proper. That's why. So once we have the proper implementation of the process, definitely it will give satisfaction to the soul. And definitely then we don't want to go anywhere else. But as I said, it takes time. Krishna also says it takes long time. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. So, Karma Kanda process or worshipping of demigods is advised in the Vedic literature. It's not something that we have made it up. Of course, many practices must be man-made practices that might not be mentioned in the scriptures. But the process in its own is mentioned in scriptures. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. Or Durga, or like these days, Navratris are going on. So one can worship Uma if you want beautiful wife or very, very nice wife. And similarly, girls worship Shivji if they want a wonderful husband. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. In fact, interestingly, the gopis, not even gopis, the little gopis, the gopikas, actually that is mentioned in Bhagavatam. After the month of Kartik, they took up the worship of Mother Katyayani. Katyayani is Durga Ji. And for, 21 days or so, they really together worshipped Katyayani, following all the rules that were mentioned. Like getting up early and eating only khichdi without any spices, without any salt, And going every day early morning to worship Katyayani far away. The temple is at the banks of Yamuna, little far away from Vrindavan. And they were going every day early morning. And the result was, but the desire was to have Krishna as their husbands. So even if they were worshipping demigod, they were worshipping Katyayani, Durga Ji, but the desire was to have Krishna as the husband. And Krishna did fulfill that desire. In fact, that is when this beautiful pastime of Chir Haran Leela, when Krishna stole the clothes of all these gopikas, and then he ran up on the tree, Kadam tree, and the whole pastime, whole conversation happened. So Krishna accepted all these gopikas as his wives. So they did worship Durga Ji. And in fact, Rukmini Ji also worshipped Durga Ji. When she had gone to worship, before that she had worshipped Durga Ji, and afterwards when she had gone to worship Durga Ji, and she had sent a message to Krishna that Krishna should come at that time and kidnap her. So there are instances in Bhagavatam also when people have worshipped, devotees have worshipped demigods or demigoddess. But of course, their aim was to have Krishna, attain Krishna as their husband. So one can ask, can we worship Durga Ji or Shivji with that kind of desire in mind to have Krishna as my husband, or to have bhakti towards Krishna, or to become servant of Krishna? Yes, one can, and they are all our Vaishnavas and they can bestow this kind of benediction. But the only problem is we might get distracted while worshipping the demigods. We might get distracted with some material desire. So, but then again, one has to see one's position. One has to see what's my situation. Then work accordingly. The particular mode of the devotion attitude of the living entity towards a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse a living entity with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. So they have no independence. They give benedictions according to the power given to them by Krishna. In the Vedic literature, it is stated the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Super Soul, is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the Supreme Will. They are not independent. So obviously they are not independent. Whatever power they have, it's coming from Krishna. And they know that. Of course, sometimes they forget, and then beautiful pastimes happen between Krishna and different demigods, like Krishna and Indra, Krishna and Brahmaji, Krishna and Shivji, Krishna and Varun Dev also, many times pastimes has happened. But those pastimes, of course, they happen because demigods forget their position, but ultimately everything happens to glorify Krishna. They end up in glorifying Krishna. So that way, if we look at those pastimes, they're beautiful pastimes. And all the demigods in the end, they either they get chastised or they feel ashamed of what they have done, because Krishna is after all Krishna. But they all are servants of Krishna. They all are devotees of Krishna. So they have a beautiful relationship with Krishna. So my only point is we should not denounce demigods reading these purports or the shlokas here. We should understand the position of demigods. Text 22. Satya Shraddhya Yuktas Tasya Aradhanamihate Labate Chettatah Kaman Maya Vihitan Hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. The demigods cannot award benedictions to the devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotees, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Of course, that is a best process, best procedure to follow. But we have to understand this is purpose, but the pure devotee. We are still doing Mishrit Bhakti. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. So what exactly it says, Anya kami yadi kare Krishnera bhajan, na mangite Krishna tare dena swacharan, means if those who desire material enjoyment or merging into the existence of the absolute truth engage in the Lord's transcendental loving service, they will immediately attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, although they did not ask for it. Krishna is therefore very merciful. So even if they're performing devotion service with some material desires in mind, Krishna does not fulfill the material desires and Krishna gives them the shelter of his lotus feet. Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishay sukh, amrit chhadi vish mange, ei bada murkh. Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia. Ambrosia means nectar, to drink poison. Krishna says, Ami vigya e murkhe vishay ken diba, so charnamrita diya vishay bhulaiba. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. So this is what Krishna does. And next verse is, whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desires, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. This is the supremacy of bhakti. Kam lagi Krishna bhaje paye Krishna rase. Kam chhadi dasa haite hai avilashe. When someone engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service for the satisfaction of the senses and instead acquires a taste for serving Krishna, he gives up his material desires and willingly offers himself as an eternal servant of Krishna. So that is the topmost position one can attain. Coming back to Bhagavad Gita purport. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. So that's why the bhakti, devotional service, that's why Prabhupada is using the right words. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and for demigods, he's using the word worship. So bhajan, or devotional service, bhakti, cannot be done to demigods. We can do their puja, but we don't do bhakti. The bhajan, bhakti is done with love. And when we approach demigods, we don't show love, we show our material desires. Love is only for Krishna. Love is, then there is no demand, there's only service. And as I said, there are many worshippers of Devi Devtas, and they have so much of faith, so much of staunch faith in them, so much of service they do. Navratras, we can see in North India, people worship Devi like anything. They do all the fasting, or if you go to Vaishno Devi, people do so much of austerity to go all the way up and take darshan. Or other places. There's so many places, so many temples of demigods where people go and worship them. And with so much of faith, and they keep going back again and again and again and again. And many times we wish that kind of faith I have for Krishna. But everybody is at different position. That's all it is. For the living entity who desires to return to the Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. But that doesn't mean a devotee, if he has material benefits, then he is not a pure devotee. It doesn't mean that. Like Maharaj Yudhishthira is a pure devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, pure devotee. So they have all the benedictions, material benefits by mercy of Krishna. Of course, not by worshipping demigods. So anything can happen in service of Krishna. It's nothing impossible there. Text 23. Antvattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedasam devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Some commentators on the Bhagavad Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, but here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planetary systems where various demigods are situated. Just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if someone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It's not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied here, for it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the Supreme Planet of the Personality of Godhead. So yes, worshippers of Shivji, they go to, if they worship him properly, they can attain Kailash. Of course, Kailash has a different location. It's not in the material world. And so it's right outside the material world, but it's not a Vaikuntha planet. So it is the abode of Shivji and it never gets destroyed. But it's not the same as Vaikuntha planet. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they do not know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. And in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is a separate God and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Of course, that's where they make the mistake. And that's where they make offense against Krishna. Not only are demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that Brahmins are the head of the Supreme Lord, Kshatriyas are his arms, Vaishyas are his waist, and the Shudras are his legs. And all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable because within this material world, the planets, the demigods, and the worshippers are all perishable. So we understand from Bhagavatam that demigods is a position, except obviously Shivji and Durgaji and Hanumanji. Hanumanji is not a position, it's a person. But like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, Varun, Surya, they all are positions and they are occupied by different people who are qualified to come to that position, and they remain in that position for 71 Chatur Yugas, period of one Manu. So it's very long, but it's still, compared to life of Brahmaji, it is very temporary. Like in one day of Brahmaji, 14 sets of demigods change their positions, one day only. I mean, daytime, not even the night time, just daytime only. So from Brahmaji's perspective, every demigod lives for, say, in 12 hours, 14 times they change, like maybe 48 minutes or 50 minutes, something like that. That's all the life of a demigod is from Brahmaji's perspective. So it's all temporary. So the benedictions they give are also temporary. So therefore it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by a less intelligent living entity. Because a pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is also unlimited. But anything that the demigods give is limited and it is perishable. So I'll stop here because the theme also changes from next verse. And see anybody has any question or comment. I'm sorry the internet connection might be still the same. I've applied for a new connection and it will take 2-3 days before they give me the new connection.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. The right time to clarify such a I would say critical concept, worshiping demigod vis-a-vis the Lord. Thank you so much for that. Prabhuji, in fact, not a question, I have a request. In fact, I think somewhere way back in Feb or March, you had shared important themes to remember from Bhagavad Gita. If I can drop you a note on separate window and if you can share that with me, that will be very helpful.
Okay, I'll send you that list again.
And Prabhuji, sorry, in fact, I have one question. Uh, Tell me, in fact, I've seen, in fact, at least in the case of my parents, I see, in fact, they worship Lord Jagannath, and like you said, in fact, in my home as well, we worship Shivji, Durga Ji is different of us as well. But I think, in fact, what you said just now, I've seen on a couple of occasions. In fact, at least my parents, in fact, at times, yes, they have sought some material stuff for us, like or wellness or something for us. But majorly, in fact, what I have seen is requesting or praying the demigod for steadiness in devotion. यानी मेरी भक्ति ठीक ठाक चलते रहे. In fact, I don't know whether they explicitly mentioned about Lord Jagannath's bhakti, but I think that is what I would conclude कि हाँ भक्ति चलते रहे, devotional service. So tell me, in fact, in all such cases, whereas one as the demigods are kind of like we read just now and you explained, they own different planets as per their position, and so Saraswati ji is for Vidya, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say, and uh, so people approaching them, let's say if somebody approaches Durga Devi for some Shakti, so your wealth understand. पर अगर बोले कि नहीं, I mean make me steady in the devotion service of Lord Jagannath, मुझे तो उनकी सेवा मिलनी चाहिए. So how do they then assign this benediction on people? Because मुझे
They can help.
confusion यहाँ पे है.
They can definitely help because they are very powerful entities. They're not like us who have no power. So they can help. They can make the path more simple without any obstructions. They can help.
But Prabhu ji, ऐसा नहीं है. Let's say if the time is not ripe, and let's say if Bhagwan ji, अगर if he feels कि नहीं, I'm not at least qualified now to can kind of start on the devotional service of him. So Devi ji or matlab any other devta, can they still help us with that?
Um, they can, to whatever extent, yes, they can. They all are Vaishnavas. So if we are approaching a senior devotee to help us, he will try. And if he tries, Krishna will oblige.
So that is also okay ना, in that sense, in fact, to go to them, because at times you rightly said. So क्या होता है फिर यहाँ पे devotional service थोड़ी सी तो कम होके फिर वहाँ पे जाके pray करें, no, give me devotional service rather than pleading here. And lots of time it happens with us as well. At least in my case, it happens.
Prabhupada wise he stopped or he discouraged because we might get distracted. That's all. Because we might start asking for material benefits, and that's a complete distraction from pure bhakti. So that's why he discouraged us. But I mean, as I said, one has to understand his situation and work accordingly. Instead of getting frustrated, suppose like Krishna says, na, in Chaitanya Charitamrita where we read, if somebody approaches for material desires, Krishna says, "I'll not give. I'll just give him bhakti," and by which he becomes satisfied. But suppose we are not at that level where we get satisfied, then what? So we get, and many times we have seen people who get frustrated in bhakti also. Maybe we are not qualified, maybe we are not ready for that, maybe we have committed offenses, or whatever reason may be. Idea is not to leave bhakti. Whatever else you do on the side, do it, but do not leave bhakti, the process of bhakti.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, what is the position of Tulsi Maharani? In fact, we
Oh,
read
she is a pure devotee.
it's not a demigod.
No, 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 no. No way. She is Tulsi Maharani has a special position in Golok Vrindavan where she organizes all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. That's why we pray every morning. Moreya Bilas, Bilas Kunja Diyovas, and Seva Dikara Diya Karo Nijadasi. So she is the one, Vrindavani or Tulsi Maharani. She is the one arranging all the pastimes, taking care of all the pastimes for Radha and Krishna. So when we worship her, we basically ask her, please, whatever pastimes you are arranging, please give me some service in those pastimes. So her position is completely different.
And same goes for Srimati Radharani as well, no?
Oh, obvious. She is a consort of Krishna. She is Haladini Shakti. She is a pleasure personification of pleasure potency. So any pleasure that we receive in bhakti is all because of mercy of Radharani.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna Mata.
I have a question just to the answer that you said. So, is Tulsi Maharani and Vrinda Devi same or are they different
Yes,
personalities?
same.
They are same. Okay, okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, thank you.
Of course, just in the material world, she comes in the form of this tree, Tulsi Maharani. There's a special pastime behind that. Maybe some other day we can discuss this pastime. But Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Maharani, very special position in Golok Vrindavan.
And Prabhuji, in fact, in one of the previous lectures, you talked about Manjaris being the young gopis from Manjaris. And yesterday, while plucking Manjari from Tulsi Maharani, in fact, this thought struck me. So Manjaris, young gopis, very kind of passionately devoted towards Krishna, Krishna fond of them. So why is it that we pluck Manjaris then? Because we feel Manjaris are hurtful to Tulsi Devi?
Oh,
I was very
these manjaris are different. They're not hurtful, but because if the manjari is there in the tulsi plant, the energy goes, lots of energy goes to these manjaris. So the plant does not grow properly. So that's why we cut these manjaris. And moreover, these manjaris, they become the seeds for the next tulsi plant. So we can plant those manjaris and new tulsi plants will come. But they take away lots of energy from the plant. So we want to keep the energy in the plant so it grows properly.
And that's not the Manjari that we talked of as little
No,
gopis.
no. It's not the same.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll discuss sometimes later. Need to understand, in fact, entire procedure because understand in the classes that is called, in fact, procedure about plucking the manjaris, etc. It's all been told, but somehow we are unable to follow that because of which we feel the Tulsi Marni's leaves at the tip are not kind of blossoming properly. We'll understand from you sometime later, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Sure, Prabhu. Okay, so I guess we can start here. Any other question or comment?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I got a question come slight observation.
Okay.
When in the previous verses we have seen that all of us are either in the Artha, Jigyasu, Artharthi or Gyani. Gyani obviously very rare. Mostly we probably fall in the three categories. Artharthi who through physical gross satisfaction of senses he asks for money and wealth and whatever. And Artha is physically mentally afflicted and Jigyasu is intellectually thirsty or hungry. And all of us fall in one of the three categories. Just like we don't have any Gyanis here, we don't have any pure devotees also. If there is one, I haven't seen. And if there is one, obviously nobody can perceive also. But most of us, I assume, fall under the category of people who do kamya bhakti. Even so, pure devotee. Why are we setting such high standards? When Prabhupada says the less intelligent living entity doesn't know this and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigod for some benefits. But the fact is, all our bhakti are desire based only. I mean, how many people would not want wealth or something more, desire something more, or retain whatever is there? So that is the two, I assume, two desires that people have: get more or retain whatever is there. So that's why we go to the temples, go to pray. How many of us would go there and ask for moksha? So when our levels are so low, so is it not the correct means to attain the highest goal is to through material satisfaction? So at least by then, by that method, we are at least able to come to this path. So for example, even worshipping Lord as Lakshmi in Kanakadhara Stotra for wealth, or for Lord Shiva for Chandrasekhar Stotra for getting rid of fear of death. So these are all, isn't these noble means? And people who are worshipping Krishna also might worship him through material desires, and they might approach a demigod with non-material uh, way. So is it, so who how do we judge who is a pure devotee? After all, we all are falling under one of these three categories. Sorry for the long question.
No, no, that's a wonderful question. Um, yes, we do fall under those categories, but Prabhupada has clearly given, or Krishna has actually given, and Prabhupada has elaborated upon it, what's a level of a pure devotee. In Bhagavatam, when you study Bhagavatam, it says, Akama sarva kamava moksha kamudardi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Means even if somebody is akama without any material desires, sarva kama, all material desires, or moksha kama, desire for liberation. But out of those, udardi means one who's intelligent, he still worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if somebody has all the material desires, it is recommended to worship Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, only. And whether he fulfills the desires or not, that's up to him. But then again, I mean, these are for this level. But if somebody goes higher, then nectar of devotion says Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Gyan Karmadhyanavratam. So yes, everybody's level is different. And our level is, we are at very low level right now. I can talk about myself. I'm at a very low level, I'm at a beginning level. So slowly, we have to make progress. That's all. So even if in the process we have to worship Krishna for some material benefits, or we have to pray to Lakshmi ji with different stotras, why not? Go ahead. But whether they get fulfilled or not, that's up to Krishna to decide. Only thing I was stressing upon is we should not get frustrated and leave. That's all.
Thanks,
And
Prabhu.
of course, at the ultimate goal, I mean, then if we look at the different examples of devotees, Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, they are the pure devotees. Sudama, he still didn't want to go to Krishna to ask for anything. Even though his wife forced him, he went to Dwarka. Still, he did not ask for anything. Those are amazing examples. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita, whenever we get to study that, we'll see there are so many examples. They don't ask for anything. Mahaprabhu himself said, I want to give you something. They said, no, I don't want anything. What to do? So those examples are also there. But yes, obviously, our level is not at that. We are not at that level. That's all. So we have to work accordingly. You rightly said.
Thanks, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So thank you all very much. Yeah. Any other question or comment?
No, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Prabhuji.
much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Hare.
Jai
Hare
Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,